Welcome to the Idaho Real Estate Investor Show, where we bring strategies and knowledge that will help you succeed in Idaho's ever-changing real estate market. I'm Jonna Weber. I'm an Idaho investor, realtor, and entrepreneur. I've been successfully investing for over 2 decades and helping countless others do the same. We'll bring you real stories from successful investors, expert advice, and insights to help you build generational wealth through the power of real estate. Whether you're just getting started or well on your way, let's jump in. Hey, Idaho investors, it's Jonna Weber, and I'm so excited about who we have on tap to talk through Idaho investing, all things Idaho investing today. Today, we've got this incredible couple that has wandered into my life earlier this year. I met Paul and Tanice Myers earlier this year when they found the Boise Real Estate Investor Network, and we connected together and just had this great time. Their level of experience and their expertise is really going to inspire a lot of us. I'm excited to learn along with all of you today, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So the thing about Paul and Tanice is that they are very multifaceted in their experience, but we're going to zero in on what they've been doing the last 5 years, which is super inspiring, and I love how they have taken this next level in their investing journey. They are community development. I'm going to say this wrong, Paul and Tanice, but you are really ambassadors and community development managers of sort and have a HomeVestors franchise.
That's correct.
And I can't wait to delve into that. So without further ado, welcome Paul and Tanice to the Idaho Real Estate Investor Show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Jonna.
that.
Yeah.
It's so
We're
good.
excited.
It's so good to have you here. But, I know we just said we're going to talk about the last 5 years a little bit, but I'm going to go back because when we first connected, I just felt like we had this personal connection where we could talk forever because we have so much in common.
Yep.
And you had mentioned you've been in the investing world for 20 years. My husband and I started investing 21 years ago. And I think we also have in common, we're kind of in that empty nest world
That's correct.
a little
Yep.
bit.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Empty nesters.
So something happens in those that next phase where new things happen, and I'm excited to talk more about what's going on with the HomeVestor journey.
Yep.
But let's go back. Let's go back
Okay.
20 years.
Sure.
Sure.
And what inspired you to even start in any kind of real estate investing, and most importantly, who created that spark first?
Ah, that's a great question. That'd be you.
Well,
sweetheart.
so, we started back, 1999,
Mhm.
actually.
Bought our first house.
Bought our first house.
We weren't even married. We were engaged.
Okay, we got ours when we were
Yeah.
engaged
We're-
too.
we're-
I was 96.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we got married in 2000.
Yeah.
So, we kind of got a little passion for real estate after we bought our first house.
We did.
Realized that
It was
that's a good way to,
It was scary. Your first house, you're like, I think there were moments where you're in tears too, because you're unknown. It's scary.
Yeah, you get so used to, living with your parents and you rent for a long time and you don't think about really owning a house, what that means until you really do it. So we did that. And then a couple of years after we got married, we decided we should buy a rental property.
We did.
But who's we? Who?
We both,
So we did, but Paul started that.
Okay.
Yeah.
He really started it, and I went, well, that's a great idea. Let's do it.
so we did what everyone, a lot of people will tell you not to do, is to take equity out of our first house and buy a rental property. So by then, Denise was working a pretty good job at in software sales. You were in Wall Data or something.
Yep.
I was with an engineering firm.
We both had W-2 jobs.
Okay.
And
You were
so
dinks.
Instead
Yes,
of
that's right, we were
exactly.
dinks.
Instead of
For
purchasing,
you youngins, that's dual income, no kids.
that's right. That's a term that nobody uses anymore, apparently. But we decided instead of buying fancy cars and boats, and a lot of our friends were, because we had pretty good jobs, we just bought another house. In fact, we bought a brand new house up in
As a
in
rental.
Lake Stevens, Washington, as a rental. It was brand new.
Low maintenance. I love
So,
it.
so we bought it.
Yeah.
And we lived in
The crappy house.
probably the crappiest house, the crappiest split entry house that you could believe. But it was okay because we bought a rental house, and that's
We
how
had
we
the
kind of got
vision.
started.
We had the
Yeah.
vision. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how we really got started.
But and
with it.
again, when we took out that line, we had that line of credit on our house, right? We used that money to go buy a rental. Again, we had some very scary sleepless
Oh my
nights.
gosh.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
You have those nights where you're like, are we doing the right thing? Because no one else, it was rare. And like
Yeah.
Paul said, all of our friends are buying the boats and the cars and all the
We
other
got pushback from
toys.
family too, like, "Oh, your rental. Oh, that's gonna be a pain. Oh, what happens if? What if? What if?" I'm like, what if I get hit by a bus tomorrow?
Right.
I mean, what's the
Right.
worst that can happen?
Right.
I think we'll be okay.
Yeah.
And we are okay.
And so that started the first journey.
Okay, so this
of-
wasn't anything you grew up with your family. They weren't
No, our
necessarily.
family wasn't the most supportive, really, necessarily. Nobody in our family really has done this. You know, my dad was a business owner his whole life, but I didn't have a close relationship with him. But other than that, I mean, everyone else was a very,
We
you go
started
to
with
work and
nothing.
you know,
On our own, doing our own thing.
Yeah.
No money from any parents
No.
of any kind. We started out
I
with
even
nothing.
paid my own college.
Yeah.
I mean, we first got together, so I had student loans to pay off.
Yeah. And today it's
Well, it's
Right.
a
going
lot
away real
different.
quick.
Well, what sparked that though? What made you even think
So,
outside the box of the W2
I
life?
realized really quick that as much as W-2 jobs are great, I can't tolerate doing a repetitive job for a long period of time.
Yes.
I can't. I really respect the people that can work 30 years in one job and do the same thing. That's great. That's not me. I get bored real quick. And I was starting to realize after college, I worked for a materials testing firm, worked my way up in that, an engineering firm, and I realized that you kind of get to the top and you're like, now what? I can't do this. The income just isn't there. It's not enough because
It
you're
caps
just
you.
kind of surviving with the W-2. You're just surviving, but then it's like I want more. I want something different.
I
And
so relate.
and that's where
So
that's where it
relate.
came from. Well, what do you do? I mean, it's
And
real
here
estate
you
was
have
an
someone
easy.
who has the corporate technology
easy choice.
sales background. So here I got put into a commission role
Yeah.
for the last 23 years. And Paul is seeing the commission side of things going, there's other ways to make money still a W-2
Above a salary.
job. But there's if you just open up and the blinders a little bit and look outside of those boxes, you're like, there is so much
So,
opportunity out there.
Not to fast forward too much, but in 2013, I quit my engineering firm job because I was at the top. I was right underneath the owner, and there was no ownership options of the business. But I realized very quickly that you can make money by yourself doing your own thing. And once you realize that, the W-2 job, you can't go back. So you realize that there's a point when
You become unemployable.
worst case, there's so many different avenues I can make my own money. I don't need that consistent W-2 job. And that income for most people is very safe, right? You work, you get paid, but for us, it's like, I couldn't do that. I just couldn't imagine going.
And I saw that
working.
as his wife. I saw that Paul got into a position or a job within the W-2 world and even outside that world. And I saw that he would go as far as he could and then he would get bored and then start looking for something else. I recognized that and I supported that within him as well. And I think that's a very important thing to talk about within any relationship because today we own several businesses and we work together as a husband and wife team. But again, when Paul left his W-2 job by choice, walking in and giving resignation, again, we had to have a family conversation around that. And it is very scary because is that a normal thing to do?
No.
It is
No,
not.
and
No,
I
support
commend
for
you for
everyone.
taking that step because so many people talk about it year after year after year and never take action. And next thing they
And
know,
so
they're
he-
65.
You get stuck on that paycheck.
It gets
You
comfortable,
it's very
right?
comfortable. It's
Yeah.
it's kind of like I call it the government job syndrome, where it's just everything.
You
You
need
get
the
your
paycheck.
vacation, you get your
Yeah.
everything, and what else is there?
Yeah.
I can
Okay.
tell you, there's other stuff.
Well, what I love,
done it.
yeah,
What he discovered, though, within his own business is he quickly identified that if he paid himself regularly, like a W-2, the income was there, and so just pay yourself regularly
Well,
with like
and
with
that's
a
the truth is that
paycheck.
we
So that's
we
what you
still
did.
get a paycheck.
Yeah,
we
we
have our
still
own
do.
company. Our company pays us. So we
Yes.
still technically have a W-2 job. It's just my
Thinking about it
business.
that way is a little bit different, right? But
Yeah.
again, I think it's important to call out that if you're by yourself, that's great. You got to support yourself or find someone that gives you that rah-rah to help you feel like you can continue on. Or as a couple, you've got to have that support on both sides. I think it helps, right, to have that support on both sides. And so he's out there independent, and I'm supporting him going, go, baby, go. And I'm still back at the W-2
okay,
job.
so you were still at, was
I
it
was-
Microsoft?
It was.
at the
So
time?
23
Okay.
years of
You stayed
corporate
there.
tech sales. Last 10 were with Microsoft.
Okay.
And again, it was a strong six-figure income, all the family benefits, stock option, 401k. I mean, medical benefit. I mean, it was a fantastic package.
So that gave you the kind of cushion to have one of you have the landing
Yeah,
off point,
it
right?
also, I mean,
And-
when I started I think in 2009, I got a real estate broker's license in Washington, and I started buying bank-owned houses. And we started buying rentals then too. That's when we got more into it because I realized I could do that and still do my engineering job, but also it was a platform for me to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so with Denise staying at her job, it did help a little bit buffer that. But I
Someone
realized
with a
real
W-2, the banks
quickly,
love that.
but
Yes,
real
that's
quickly, I had revenue streams. I had a broker buy properties for other people and help them rehab it and relist it. So I was getting income from that, and I was doing my own properties at the same time. So that I started creating income streams, and that's allowed me to quit my job originally because I had different income streams of money coming in different ways.
And
I,
when
I
you
always had backup plans of different things. I mean, I went out and I think when did I do it? 2018, I got a Class A CDL.
Yeah.
So I have a commercial driver's license too. That's something I always wanted to do. So I got that certification. I always figured that worst case something happens, I'd rather go back and do that than go work at Walmart.
And this was
right?
something fun for him
Right.
to go do.
So I
Right.
always, so that
He
goes to
hasn't
show
done
my
anything with
mind
it.
is always thinking about revenue streams. And I can do whatever I want to do. If we lost everything, something happened, I can always find a job doing something. But what would I want to do? Rather drive truck than work at a Walmart.
so you're entrepreneurial is what
So
you're
it's always-
telling me.
It's always something, right? It's always something. And so that's I encourage people to always do that, to explore and do that. And I started for a pilot's license for a while too. Just explore different avenues of what you want to do.
Yeah.
'Cause
Very
you can
cool.
do that.
Are you a busy person ready to dive into real estate investing but not quite sure where to start? I've got you covered. I've put together a free guide with 6 practical tips to kickstart your real estate journey. These tips are designed to help you avoid common pitfalls and set yourself up for success. Head over to boisereen.com/kickstart to download your copy today. And let's make your first steps count. So thanks for sharing that whole journey.
Yeah.
That was a jumping off point. I can
Yep.
tell when you'd made that move, getting out of the W-2, 2013,
Yep.
and then you spent the next several years rehabbing properties. Is that
Yep.
correct?
So I
And-
was a general contractor. I got my general contractor's license in Washington, and I was rehabbing houses for myself and reselling them. I was also buying properties for other people as a broker, and my crew would fix them up, and I'd relist the house. Because bank-owned days were fun. That was probably the best. If everybody's ever been that time, that was the most
Yes.
fun time in real estate. You could buy houses unemotional. You just every day just look for bank-owns, get relationships with
So-
people. It was fun.
Were you doing some off of MLS? Did you have your
Everything.
broker's license
MLS,
at that
I had my
time?
broker's license. So I found stuff on MLS. I had relationships with brokers that listed bank-owned houses. So it'd be like, hey, I got this one coming up. Why don't you go take a look at it? To this day, I still have all the keys from bank-owned houses in my truck. So, it was just an advantage. It was easy. It was unemotional, attachment with the houses. So we were able to just make deals and make them work. And I bought them. We originally came from the Seattle area, so I was buying them all over the Seattle area.
And you were
all over.
were you keeping any as rentals or were you flipping?
We did.
At that?
We actually
did.
kept
Smart.
quite a few as rentals. We did sell those a few years ago when we left Washington right
Yeah,
after
'cause
COVID.
the
We
rental laws have
realized we're out.
changed so much over there. Yeah.
We still actually have one duplex, which is
Yeah.
pretty nice.
We didn't even talk about that. Where did you both grow up?
Oh,
Oh,
Anchorage, Alaska.
Alaska. Very
Yeah.
cool. I just showed someone houses this week from Alaska.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she wants
I'm-
to get rid of the winters in Alaska and move to Idaho.
I was Issaquah, Washington. So I
Okay.
grew up in the Seattle area.
So you were living in the Seattle area until what year?
We left officially in
moved-
21, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. We kind of glossed over that
I
at the
know, right?
beginning, but
Well, yeah. So we ended up leaving. We raised our daughter. That's the homish. And she was senior year of high school. There were still weird COVID restrictions, so she ended up going to community college.
Virtually.
Virtually for they call it college in the school where they call it Running Start.
Yeah.
So she graduated basically from high school, but she took all online college classes. So during that time, we actually moved over to Idaho.
awesome. And you were in North Idaho,
we were
right?
We were in Coeur d'Alene.
Okay.
And she was still finishing up school. And kind of from there, we basically sold everything in Washington.
Okay.
We had enough.
Now I want to talk about Idaho, but we're jumping ahead.
Yeah.
So
Please.
for several years you were doing fix and flips,
Yep.
building rentals,
Yep.
building your
I
company.
want to pause too because
Okay.
you were talking about buying on the bank owned, and this is back when I still had the W-2 job, and we're still figuring things out in terms of real estate investing. But I laughed because I get the vision in my head. He would take me to some of these bank owned homes, Jonna, and I'm walking up going, "You want to buy this?
Oh yeah.
This is disgusting." I mean, some of them were really, really bad. There was one that I recall we did buy and we rehabbed it, but we showed up
I love
and it
that
was a
house.
pile of trash outside. You could hardly see the house. There was so much trash. Now, this was a bank-owned home, and this house that was still had trash piles all the way up, hardly see the house, and going into the garage had already been trashed out by the bank by the
They couldn't.
Oh my gosh.
They couldn't finish it.
$20,000.
They couldn't finish it.
So the trash out company said, we spent our $20,000 and already done this, and this was still left. I'm like, oh my God.
So we bought that from a broker that lists from the asset manager that one of the brokers were going to list it, and he's like, "We don't know what to do with this. Do you want it?" And we're like, yeah. So you literally go in the back. There's no locks because the doors are open.
Yeah.
You go slide open the broken door in the back, and you hear the rats running.
Yes, I'm like, oh
The
boy, where are
squatters
you
were living
taking
in
me?
it. It was in Everett, Washington. Whenever you see like 10 shopping carts kind of flayed around the yard, you know it's somebody's been living there.
Yes.
So all the plumbing was
But
gone,
it was
wire
simpler
was
then
gone.
because we didn't have to
Yeah.
deal with the sadness of talking directly to those people that were the hoarders or
Yeah.
whatever. It was
Yep.
just
They've
bank
already
to
moved on.
person
That
and
was
so
a-
forth.
that-
But I
that's why it
remember the
was a-
remnants
That's
of
why
all
it
the
was,
things.
it was an easy time because there wasn't any real personal attachment. To
It
the
was
property.
easy, but it wasn't, right?
Right.
Because I think about now, today's investors, and you and I, we all have passions for helping the investors that are just getting started and stuff. And they
Yeah.
go, oh, they had it easy. We bought the $100,000 houses in the recession and all of that sort of thing. But there's some aspects today that I think are much easier, and things are much easier to be able to systemize. And then you've got the benefit of, in a lot of ways, social media and resources and access to resources to help you along that journey. But a lot of us, I wasn't flipping that time. I was buying buy and holds, but kind of are pioneers in figuring that out. And that was before all of the, flipping shows on HGTV
Yeah.
and all of that. So I just commend you for figuring it out. And obviously you built systems, which I want to get into, because obviously if you're flipping a high volume of homes or even buying them as buy and hold investments, how did you put systems in place? And was it just you, or did you have a full team?
Originally, it was just me.
Mhm.
I had some other brokers I worked with. I hired a guy that worked with me for the construction side. He actually ended up buying my general contracting business, and that helped quite a bit too, because I was able to take a house with my own crew, and it's a lot easier to fix with your own crew than to hire 10 subs to do everything, because now
Right.
you're adult babysitting a bunch of subs, and it's very expensive. When we had our own crews, it's like, hey, this is bad. What do you want me to do? I want you to fix it. Fix the floor. You won't charge me more. I'm paying you hourly. Fix it. It just needs to get done.
Right.
So it was a lot easier. And that allowed us to do up to 10, 15 properties at a time, because my crews could just do it. And I know that they will just fix it.
Oh, that's
I
so
don't
cool.
have to pre-bid out stuff. Oh, we found this rock. We need to bid. No, just fix it. You know how to fix it.
Yeah.
You don't need me.
You
Just
kind of
buy
have that
materials.
known cost
Yeah.
and that
You just, so.
factor.
But that helped. But there was a time that by 2018 that we did buy a HomeVestors franchise.
And did
That helped.
Tanice, did your retirement come at that time, or did it come after you
It
bought the
did.
HomeVestor
So
franchise?
in that 2018 time period, we started seeing that the bank-owned homes on the market, just homes on the market to buy for real estate investing, for flipping,
People had equity.
they kind of started to dry up a little bit.
Right.
And so we started going, okay, where are the leads for buying homes, whether it's on market or off market, as a real estate investor? And that's where we stumbled upon HomeVestors. Paul actually stumbled upon it through another HomeVestors franchise in the Seattle
I
area.
ended up listing the property for the guy, and I went and looked at it when he bought it. I looked at it when he rehabbed it and listed it for him. I don't know how, he got it really cheap. It was a house. It was a desperate situation. Somebody needed out of the house, so it was pretty clean.
Yeah.
And how did you get this lead? That's the first question. So a couple years later, we actually joined HomeVestors too.
We did our research because it's a business. You're buying a franchise business, so like any business, and like any, if you're doing real estate investing full time, you've got to lean in, and you got to do work behind it. And so we joined it originally thinking as just a lead source, but it actually provides a lot more. They provide they do all the marketing for us. We actually have a brand, a name brand that we can use and leverage as well. So that sets us apart from other real estate investors. Money, you want to talk about money?
Yes,
they do
we like
provide
to talk
money,
about money
right?
here on the show.
They do provide, they have access to a variety of different lenders that we can use. And as a HomeVestor franchisee, they will also provide financing of up to 100% on your purchase and 100% on the rehab.
That's huge.
That
And that's
is
one of the
huge.
number one challenges that investors come, that's why they join RIAs like REAN and things
Right.
that where they're just desperate to find how they're going to get that financing.
Right.
So
as a
unpack that a little
HomeVestors
bit.
franchise owner, so let me pause because there's three things. As a real estate investor, there are three things that you need, period, to be successful. Three things. There's more than three things, but I'm going to focus on three things. One, you need leads. You need leads coming in all the time, consistently, all the time. And you need to be able to figure out multiple different ways to find your leads, not just one way. You need multiple lead sources. So leads you need in order to be successful because, frankly, you need more than one lead to go buy a house. You do.
Yeah, you don't buy every single house
No,
you go
you
look
don't.
at.
No, and if you
you'd
do,
be
you're not
broke.
doing it right.
You'd be
Right.
broke or you'd be you have a lot of money to bank the burn because
So
I mean, it's
leads,
not all of them are deals.
education, and money are the three things that you need to be successful.
Leads, education,
And money. Okay?
LEM.
LEM. Or
Okay, I like it.
MLE or whatever you want to do,
Yeah.
right? Or MEL. Let's go with MEL.
I like it. We've got a
money
new acronym.
education. Money, education, and leads. So let's talk about the leads itself, right? So when the leads come in and you get a phone call, what do you do? What do? You want to get an appointment to go see someone. So when you go out on the appointment, what do? Are you ready to buy the house? You have everything in order. Everything in order to be able to go, all right, you're ready to sell. We've agreed on terms. Let's write it up. Do you have all of that? You don't.
No.
So that goes back to the education. So you need some education before you even start down that process so that when you are sitting in the living room, you are that expert. You can lead them down the path to success. You can also sit and pause and listen to them and go, selling your house does not sound like it's the best thing for you at this time. If I'm hearing you right, you might really just need a mortgage guy because you want to refi. Do you have that resource? You don't? I'm going to give you someone.
You have a place
And I
to
go
go.
off to my next lead. I didn't buy the house. But you need that level of education to be able to have those one-on-one living room conversations with the people. But again, when you get the lead and you get the phone call, what do you do?
Right.
Or even the web lead that comes in now, right? What do you do with it? So you've got to know what to do when those come in. And then money. So now you're ready to buy the house. You're going to need money. We coach that when you buy a house, you're going to need some money. You got closing costs. You got an earnest money deposit. You got utilities.
There's so many
You're
things
going
for
to
a
need
house.
some money, right?
Yeah, even if you're buying with no money down.
Right.
You're
Exactly.
gonna
Even,
need
still
money.
need some money.
You're going to want to. You're going to need some money. So whether you're going to use your own money or other people's money, you're going to want to be able to leverage both. But you're going to need money.
Right.
So where do you find it and what do you do with it? And today there's so many other ways to be able to use money to be able to buy houses. You can use, if you've got a 401 that you can roll into a self-directed IRA, there's money sitting there for you. If you've got a little bit of a retirement or even just cash in the bank, or you've got family members or people that can trust you, want to build a fund, right? So you can build a fund. There's so many different ways to go about that. So don't let money get in the way of what you want to do. If this is what you want to do, there's
But
money
you gotta
out
have
there.
money to be able to live, though,
But you
too.
do have to
If
have,
the
yeah.
deal's there, there's always money.
But we
Yeah.
also coach that people need to have money to live too.
Yes.
But don't take all your money that you're living on to buy a house when you can't afford to eat.
And we want to make sure
seen
you can
that.
eat, not eating top ramen every day.
Exactly. Because we don't get paid, as a rehabber, we don't get paid until the house sells. And
Right.
that time until it sells is unknown. And also what you think it's worth may not be what the market tells it's worth.
Oh, you think? Yes, we've all had that
So-
experience.
So don't count it until it's done. I never count anything until the recording numbers are in. So yeah, you got to have some money.
It's true.
But
And
we do get some, 100% financing does help.
Yeah.
Most lenders will not do that.
it does.
Right.
And on that business standpoint, too, I think it's important to note in this, I'm sure you educate newer investors, as I do, investors and agents, really. It's just, and you've been on commission, Denise,
Yeah.
you don't just go spend that whole, it's not your take home pay,
Right.
whatever you make off that house. You have to treat any kind of investing like a business.
Yeah. it
And
should be a
learn how
business.
to pay yourself a certain amount, reserve a certain amount. And guess what? With flipping, there's taxes
Yeah.
and there's real expenses and there's a team that you have to pay out. And so I think I would imagine that with HomeVestors and with support for people like yourselves to educate people in that way too, because they truly are buying a business.
So that goes back
right.
to those three things I was talking about. So as a HomeVestor franchise owner, they provide all the marketing so that the leads can come in. I can use the brand to go find different lead resources as well. So there's your leads and marketing. As a HomeVestor franchise, they provide some money around that for the 100% financing on the buy and then the rehab.
Okay.
Let's talk about education. They provide education as well. There's consistent education through a HomeVestor franchise, through corporate, which is in Dallas, Texas. Every week they've got training available virtually. They do 2 conventions a year where we come together nationally as all the franchise owners and all of their team members. There's coordinators, there's buyers, there's you name it, they're coming in. And you're able to connect and network. That was something I didn't realize was one of the biggest values that we've gotten out of being a HomeVestor franchise was that network that is sitting there. These are people that are actively buying. They're actively wholesaling, they're buying and holding. I can sit down with another HomeVestor franchise, and we did within the first year. We were able to sit down with another HomeVestor franchise owner that had over 1,000 doors.
I think he's
Free
got
of
1,300
charge.
now.
What was that?
I think he's got like 1,300 now.
Yeah, free of charge, Jonah. How did you buy them? Where did you start? What would you do differently? We could ask real questions, and they gave us real answers. You've got Excel spreadsheets. Can you share them? Yep, free of charge. They just shared them. And why would they do that? Because they know the more we buy as a collective group, the stronger we are. The stronger we are, the more we buy.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. I'm going to unpack that and turn that over into your networks in general.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're all part of the Boise Real Estate Investor
Yes.
Network
Yay.
and the power of connection. And I know part of my vision when I started Boise Reen is to have this unique conglomeration of experienced investors such as yourselves with those newer investors and getting in rooms together to mind share, because I believe we have a lot to learn from the newer investors too,
Absolutely.
from their line of sight and what they're seeing and their perspective they're coming through. And sometimes they can offer fresh perspectives to us in the way we've always done things.
Yeah.
So
Things change.
why do you find importance besides HomeVestors with joining organizations like Boise Reen? And I'm sure you've been a part of others and in different areas that you've lived in, but why is that important?
I love the question. You want to start?
Well, I mean, I think you brought up most of the points of why it's important. It's good to. We never know everything about real estate investing. Everything changes. The whole process that we do changes constantly. I mean, I know during COVID times, we could sell a house, you could do nothing to it and sell it for more money. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Now you have challenges with home inspections. There's a lot of different things that come up now that we didn't deal with before, and it's nice to see different perspectives from different people on how they handle that. Not to mention just meet people, different vendors, different resources. I personally enjoy helping people down this journey of real estate investing because I believe in it, and I know that it's allowed us to be financially free as well. So I want other people to experience that. I know it's possible.
That's not a small thing. And it seemed like it took a long time to get there, right? But
Yeah.
you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, that was the blink of an eye. And that's one of my passions too, is talking to people that are 20 years, they're just starting now that we've been
I know.
involved in
my
20
gosh.
years
Kinda wanna
and go
back.
you're
I
going
wish I
to
could've.
thank your, and you're going to just say,
I
just
know.
encourage
Yeah.
folks because they're going to thank themselves in
Yeah.
10, 20 years.
Yeah.
And you can, what's that phrase that you always overestimate what you can do in a year, but you can underestimate what you can do in 5 years or 10 years. And that's that consistency and that action. It sounds like you've been consistent throughout that time
I
period.
just wish I would have started a little sooner.
Oh, I know, we all do.
A little more aggressively.
A little
So-
more
So I
aggressively,
see these.
Oh, yeah, we all
I-
lost
I
sleep. We were
s-
scared of the deal.
I know.
like
I
some
see
of
these
them.
younger kids, and we know a couple people here locally too. He's like 25, and he's out there just getting it. I'm like, wow, good for you. You're only 25, which is like can be our kid, but still, it's good for you. It's good. It's a good time to start doing it. Go do it. Make your mistakes. Make your learning. Do it.
We were in Kansas, and we met up with
Oh,
2 other
yeah.
HomeVestor franchise owners there. And we've got an episode on our YouTube, The Road Warrior Investors. But at the beginning of the year, we were out there, and their goal was 100 doors for rentals, this year alone. Now, we met up with a mid-year convention at HomeVestors. They were more than halfway
They're
there.
80 something, I think.
Yeah, so they're
Now-
going to meet their goal.
Wow.
Now,
100
granted,
doors as rentals in 1 year.
Now, granted, for the people that are not familiar with Midwest, Kansas City, Missouri is a different kind of place to buy. I mean, you're buying
But still,
$50,000 to $80,000 houses is a little different. If
different
anybody's
than Coeur d'Alene and Boise.
Played in the Midwest. And we own rentals in Indiana, so we get it. But still, just for them to, he's got a master's in engineering.
yeah.
And he
And he
quit.
left it.
He went to engineering job. He's like, I can't take this. And he quit.
Wow.
He joined partners with another guy, and
Yeah.
they've been buying rentals.
I love that.
buy a
So
home.
it gives
To
people
go back
the tools,
to
the
your
system.
Yeah.
point, it was a system. They've figured out the system and a process right now that's working. Right now that's working. And they're utilizing it and they're repeating it. They're replicating it and repeating it.
Yeah.
In 5 years, will it work again? I don't know, because real estate changes so quickly
Oh my gosh.
and so fast.
Yep.
So that goes back to my point and Paul's point on the Boise REIN. Why? Why? Because networking is such an important part of what we do.
We're not islands.
No.
Connecting with people, understanding how you might be doing it today or tomorrow, or just talking with a group. Hey, here's a situation. Anyone run across this before?
And people do different kind of real estate investing too. Some people just do notes. Some people just
Mm-hmm.
invest in multifamily. Some people just invest in storage units, whatever. But it's nice to be around that little difference as well too.
Yeah, we
See
all
a
take a
little
winding journey on how, what
Yeah.
works, and depending on where we are in our lives
Yeah.
and what our
The-
financial system
The,
is.
the only thing I can say is that for people to focus on what works for them
Mm-hmm.
and not get too caught up in the shiny thing. Well, maybe this program will work.
Oh,
Well, maybe
amen.
I can go do storage units now. Maybe you tell you what, we've stuck with single family properties forever, and it just works. For us, it works. Maybe
Yeah.
some other people we know somebody else that does a lot of notes and stuff.
Mhm. That works
Works for them. Great. Do I want to do it? Not really.
But we know
could.
someone that does, right?
Right.
And
You
so
know?
again, you never know where that living room conversation is going to take you, and it might be a better fit for them to have that note conversation, right? Where we
Yeah.
can pull on that resource. So that goes back
Yeah.
to that local network that we have with the Boise REN. Is having that network available, and then showing up to the meetings that you have. You run a fantastic REIN too,
Yeah.
by the way.
Thank you.
And we've been to a bunch. So
Yeah, we've been
You run a
all
fant-
over Washington and North Idaho.
all over the
Spokane.
U.S., we've shown up to some across
We
the
actually,
U.S. too.
we've traveled quite a bit with real estate, with road warrior investors too. We've been stuff in Dallas and all
That-
over the place.
That's fabulous. And we're excited to hear more. You're actually going to be speaking at the time
Yep.
of this podcast, depending on when you're listening to it. It may or may not have happened, but in November, we're looking forward to having you at a connection
Very
event. And we're
good.
going to talk about those living room conversations.
Yes.
Is that's a question that I personally, I'll have a lot of investors come to me and they've had all this high level training and coaching from, or I'm going to say high level in quotes sometimes,
Yeah.
coaching and training, but they don't know how to have those living room conversations. I'm not going to spoil the secrets now. You have to come to the event
Yeah.
to
Yes.
really hear about that.
Yeah,
but
that's
it's so important getting that education so that you can come in with confidence and actually enact a deal. So it's really, really important. But let's go back to two things that I want to make sure we get
Yes.
covered.
Sure.
One, you recently moved from Coeur d'Alene area down to Boise.
Yep.
I almost said Sandpoint because I don't know if we talked about this, but my parents live in Sandpoint.
We have a house
and
there if you want. If you
I have
want
a
on the
house there
market.
too.
It's
Yeah,
on
you
the
want to buy?
market.
We'll talk. Okay, we'll talk after this. We will
Just saying.
talk after this. But yeah, my heart's in North Idaho too. I have an aunt in Spokane.
It's
My
such a
my
beautiful
dad was born and
area.
raised in Sandpoint, and so I know that market. And we're getting more and more people involved with Boise Reen that are up in North Idaho, which is really
Good.
exciting.
Good.
And that's part of the reason that this show is now called the Idaho Real Estate Investor Show.
Good.
But you know that market well. You're transitioning to Boise. How do you think the Coeur d'Alene market compares to Boise? And I ask that because most of our listeners are here in Idaho somewhere.
You have a great answer for this.
Well, so the market is it's a little different in North Idaho because it's kind of a small captive market per se. A lot of retirees will move in and they'll buy a house for cash, and they sit there. So a lot of locals can't buy anything. There's not enough jobs to support locals buying the houses, and there's a lot of growth, but there's not a lot of houses trying to explain how to really find them. It's just there's not enough quantity there.
I think you've got more
specifically
retirees.
North Idaho.
You've got people that are staying there a lot longer, and so just the inventory to find off market's a little lighter than it is, say, in the south end.
It's also, as you go further up to the Bonners Ferry and Sandpoint, it gets very remote,
Yeah.
for lack of a term. And a lot of those counties didn't have building permits up till a few years ago, so some of the stuff you buy is very rustic,
Unique.
And so,
You're laughing because you're like, yes, I know.
So we realize that the Coeur d'Alene proper and even Post Falls is kind of expensive. A lot of people live there, and then you kind of go out. There's really not much. We end up doing a lot of stuff in Spokane because that's the next biggest city, and so it's just, to me, Idaho is very small. There's still deals to be had. There's still things to do, but you end up going. We had some deals in Wallace, Idaho, which is totally different. Wallace feels even more different than Coeur d'Alene, even North Idaho. It's just a totally different market.
Yes.
But you're still here. Everything kind of seems consistent in Southern Idaho. It's all kind of the same. People can afford. I look at it as people can have enough jobs here to be able to afford houses.
Yeah. What drew you to Boise? That's what I'm
I
wondering.
think there's a ton of opportunity down here. So what we're seeing down here is
our story at Boise is that we had the opportunity to work with some HomeVestor franchises, some of the stuff down here, and we ended up actually buying a house down here that was from a lead from somebody up north,
another investor.
Another investor up north in Coeur d'Alene. His dad worked up there, but he had his house down here. He was going to do something with it. He never did it, and so we ended up buying that house and rehabbed it. And we're like, we kind of like it down here, so we ended up actually staying in the house. We actually kept the house for us, but that's kind of how we ended up staying down here. We just started seeing the opportunity. We actually bought a couple more houses since then too, and the opportunities seem to be coming in a little easier than North Idaho.
Yeah, organically, very, very organic. What we see down here is you see some very big industry going on. You've got the Meta project going on down here. You have a Micron project going on down here. It's multi-billion-dollar projects going on right down here. From that, you have jobs. From that, you have growth. You have movement of people coming in and out. And so we saw more opportunity from that.
I love that.
I think what we're also seeing down here in terms of the housing is it's a little bit more affordable still.
Absolutely.
You can come in here and buy new construction. Mind you, you have to go out a little bit of Boise.
Caldwell or such, but
new,
still.
in the threes, in the 350 plus or minus area, you can buy a brand new house. To me, right now,
You can't do that in North Idaho.
in the Pacific Northwest area, that's still a very, very affordable price point.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Well,
Yep.
we're so glad that you found Boise
Yeah.
and that the very first time we met, I just knew that you were going to be a great asset to our community. And then when you said you actually were, relocating down here, we were so excited.
Yay!
But you don't always stay here. So you have this tagline and a YouTube channel. I don't want to
Yes.
get off this podcast without talking about Road Warrior Investors.
Yep.
Tell us
RWI.
about that. And if you haven't followed them, which you probably haven't, what is that? Is it just Road Warrior Investors on YouTube?
It is. That's the handle.
Okay,
Road
fun
Warrior
videos.
Investors. Yep.
Tell us about that.
Please. No,
Oh,
it was
so-
the brainchild of Denise, really.
We're empty nesters. We have no kids at home, no pets at home, no plants at home. So we can really up and move around as we need to. We love to travel.
Yep.
We're at that point in our life. We're like, you know what? We're young, we're healthy. Let's go play a little bit. And so we do travel across the U.S. And as we're traveling across the U.S., we realize we have a fantastic network of real estate investors. Over 1,000 real estate investors we have a network with nationwide.
Wow.
Let's see if we can just tap into some of their stories and share them along the way. It also gives us something to do as we're traveling across the USA. And so Road Warrior Investors was born. The thought process around the mission behind that really was we wanted a platform to share the positive impact that a real estate investor does make consistently, year after year, day after day, month after month. It's not something that's talked about. And when you do real estate investing correctly, there is such a huge positive impact and the ripple effect that happens in the individual lives that you're touching as well as the local community. And it's not talked about, and we talk about it all the time on the Road Warrior Investors YouTube channel.
I love that you talk about that. We all know that real estate investors, especially those that might be buying off market, can get a real bad rap.
They can.
And unfortunately, there's some reason for that with some
There is.
experiences that people have. And I love that you appear to me to be the antithesis of that.
Yeah. So
We try to give it a good image. We do the right thing with people. we really put people before the profits or
We
before the
do.
house. There's a lot of times that we will not buy a house because it doesn't make sense. People don't have a place to go. There's many different factors. We don't do anything. We don't do subject twos. We don't do anything like that.
I was
either.
going to ask you.
We don't do
if you do
novation.
sub-twos.
No,
Okay.
we
We don't do that because we personally just don't believe in kind of deceiving someone that way. We just want to buy the house from them. They call us for a reason. They want to sell a house. If that's a fit, then we'll purchase a house from them.
Nice.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
And to
I
this
like
day, are you flipping many of those houses? Are you keeping them? What is your
we
exit
we
plan?
rehab most everything. We actually have a big rental portfolio in Indiana, and so we don't really buy rentals here per se. We may, but right now the rehabbing just seems to work. I have a full crew that works with us. I like to keep them busy too, so it's kind of keeping everyone busy, keeping local resources busy as we put money in the house and basically redo it. There's a few that we'll wholesale off, and we're careful when we wholesale. We mean that we own the house, we buy it, and then we'll sell to another investor. We just did that one on Post Falls, another HomeVestor franchisee house that we bought, purchased, and we didn't have the resources to fix it because we were living down here. So to go back 7 hours up didn't want to do it. So we sold it to another franchisee to fix it.
Now, our definition of wholesaling, I think, is a little different than the
Yeah, I was
average
going to
real
say
estate
for people
investor.
and some people on this may not even know what wholesaling means.
Right.
But typically, wholesaling means, I'll let you fill in
So
the blank.
for us, wholesaling means we've actually closed on the house, and we now can wholesale it at a discount still to someone else, right? Because wholesaling typically it's at a discount.
I've heard it called wholetailing.
Wholetailing,
Like-
sure.
Well, so that actually is a whole wholetailing. A lot of times, what we'll do, that for us means that we take a house, we make it financeable, we sell it on the market to an end user.
Right.
That's
right.
a lot of times if we wholesale something like the one at Post Falls, it was no way going to be on the market. It
Or
needed a
financeable.
lot of work.
Gotcha.
You know, so, and then the other thing that people do, they call it wholesaling, but it's not in our world. It's a signing. So if you take a contract, you don't own the house, and you assign that contract to somebody, that's an assignment of contract.
And what we see a lot
different.
of the average investors, they call that wholesaling, where they've never actually owned the property. They're
Right.
just moving the contract paper around.
Yeah, and everybody moves it around. Pretty soon, you got 10 different people touching
No.
it. It's
And I
just-
think
we don't
there's a
even do
general
that.
assumption that's a lot of times the way people need to start out because that's what they're just been told. That's the
Right.
way that you do it. But there's definite options, and that's a whole rabbit hole. But I like
it
that
is.
concept.
I think it's tough too because as we know from we as HomeVestors, they train a lot around the country, but there's a lot of states cracking down on that right now. You can't do
Yeah.
assignments like Louisiana stuff. You can't do them,
Right.
and so and that's coming. And don't think it's not coming everywhere. It is coming. So
Yeah.
the more that people do things, we just bought actually 2 houses recently here.
Mm-hmm.
From another somebody tied up a property, couldn't get rid of it, couldn't just jerk these people around. So we actually just closed on a Monday.
You did.
But for us, it's about doing the right thing. Sometimes you get in real estate investing and doing some of these seminars and some of these, I don't want to call them shady ways, different ways of doing
Other
things.
gurus.
It doesn't, it's just not the right thing for the people. And at the end of the day, it is about the person in the house. And we've got a lot of good relationships with people that we bought their houses from them. And our buyer still keeps in touch with them.
And a lot of times we'll get repeat business because, again, they know us. They know we're going to
6
be real
houses
with
from
them.
somebody.
Yeah, you have. You've bought 6 houses
Yeah,
from one
rental portfolio, yeah.
individual. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
I
kept
actually
coming
bought
back.
his
He's
personal
like,
house.
okay, I got to get rid of this one.
That's so
Okay, I gotta
great.
Get rid of this
Yeah.
one.
I was just thinking that's another good reason to really get connected with your own state and know your own laws because they do differ dramatically. And I
They
know a
do.
lot of times there's a lot of national advice out there and a lot of national coaching, which is great in generality, but you've got to narrow down and know you don't want to get yourself in any trouble. That's for sure.
No.
Absolutely.
Seek legal
And
advice. And
real
this
es-
is not investing advice either.
No.
And
not
real
attorneys.
estate investing, you
Not
can
an
get
attorney.
in deep too quickly, too fast before you even realize it, and then you're done. We've seen people come in
Yeah.
and go out so quickly because they weren't prepared properly and didn't make the right decisions along the way. So
Right.
it's just tough to watch. You're like, why?
I love that. And I can tell people can learn so much through the experience that there's no other way to get it but just being in the trenches and in those living rooms and in those rehabs and going through those experiences. Just like myself as an agent, no transaction's the same. And every time you learn
all
something, I don't
weird.
care how long you've been in the business.
Yep.
And so I know that people are just really going to enjoy learning from you,
Yeah.
both at our upcoming event and here on the podcast, but
Yep.
just in the community in general, being
Yeah.
part of Boise Reen.
Yeah.
We're so glad that you're here.
Yeah.
What do you see for yourselves, just kind of visioning out because you're entrepreneurial people and you're always up to something. Yeah, any thoughts on where you see yourself the next 5 years?
Good question.
I don't know. We're kind of up in the air, just kind of enjoying life right now. We have a daughter in college. She's going to go on to graduate school, and kind of seeing where she's going to end up a little bit, and kind of seeing where she'll end up and then what state or whatever, and that might change where we live. And I don't anticipate ever really stopping doing what we're doing. We have slowed down a little bit. We used to do, sometimes we did 10 projects at a time. Now we do a little bit less. We're a little more specific on what we want to buy. Some of the real outskirts stuff we don't buy. Because I just don't want to go there anymore.
It's a lot to manage them.
It's sometimes for us, we just slow down a little bit.
Yes,
enjoy life.
absolutely. If you're on the road, you got to get off the site and see some attractions.
Yeah, it's just we can do that. We can afford to be able to do that right now.
Pick and choose what and where we want to go and do.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
That is a mission.
Yeah.
And I think it's so easy. Yes, it's a business. So you get caught up and all of a sudden you don't have the W-2, but you're just as busy, if not busier, as a business owner. And so it can be
That's because everything falls on you as a business owner. It all comes up to you. You can't just pawn it off like a W-2 job. Oh, so someone else can handle that for me. I'm on vacation. Well, when you're a real estate investor, you own your own business, you never really have a vacation per se because you're always working a little bit. And I get that grief from sometimes even from family that I'm retired. I don't want to do anything. Well, we'll always be doing stuff.
But I mean, think about it,
though. We can still do stuff and still make money doing it. What else are we going to do? Sit and just drink coffee and go to the store?
I can be in Puerto Rico on the Wi-Fi.
Drink coffee and go to the store. Yeah.
It's like, well, sure, we can go look at some houses and do some stuff.
And have Wi-Fi in the resort, my feet up, and I can close a deal.
Right?
It might have taken me an extra half an hour. But I got half an hour, and then I'm going to go drink my mimosa and go back out to the beach. I mean, I can balance that kind of work life.
And if you're loving it, there's nothing better.
Some days are hectic. Some days you hate it and can't stand it. And other days it's great. So it's like anything. You got to balance it all out.
Yeah,
that's right. I love the realism too, because it's not the 4-hour work week, but it's so satisfying, and you're ultimately building a vehicle that's going to give you those options to really spend days on drinking a mimosa and sitting on the beach if you wanted to. And it's all about that freedom of knowing that you have the choice.
Yeah.
Paul and Denise, thank you so much for coming today. I have gotten so much value, and I know listeners, you've gotten this huge amount of value today too. And we're looking forward to having you at our upcoming Connection event in November with Boise Reen. Yep. And we're so glad that you're part of our community. Before we sign off, how would the listeners get a hold of you? And is there anything else you want to share?
Fantastic question. Thank you, John.
Within a couple of minute time period.
So we do have a YouTube channel. It is Road Warrior Investors. So if you look up the Road Warrior Investors on the YouTube channel, you'll find us. You'll see Paul and I's face sitting right there, so you can't miss us. So you can certainly reach out there. In terms of HomeVestors, the We Buy Ugly Houses, we are looking for more franchise owners in all over Idaho State. So whether you're in Idaho Falls, whether you're in Twin Falls, Boise, Coeur d'Alene, if you are interested in learning a little bit more about real estate investing as a HomeVestor franchise owner, please feel free to reach out. And we'll be sure to give maybe a phone number.
We'll have things in the show notes for people that you can refer to. And then, of course, if you join us as a part of Boise Reen, you're going to meet up with Paul and Denise at one of our Connection events.
Yep, absolutely.
And we have monthly luncheons and all kinds of opportunities to connect. And as you can tell, they just have open hearts and spirits to be able to share their wealth of knowledge. So appreciative. And thank you so much for listening to the Idaho Real Estate Investors Show. This is a taste of some of the incredible guests that we have coming this season. We're so excited to share it with you. We hope you make it a great day and go and grow. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap for today. Thanks for joining me here at the Idaho Real Estate Investors Show. I hope you're leaving with new insights and inspiration to help you truly grow wealth through real estate. If you enjoyed the show, do me a favor. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with those that can benefit from it. Go and grow, and I'll catch you on the next episode.